I mean, Jonestown, you're talking about like this raving lunatic who took a bunch of people out into the jungle and they all committed suicide. So, it's very tempting and very easy to just write off any responsibility to understand what was happening there, because you're like, well, we know what was happening. These people were nuts, But the thing is, like, if you really think about the consequences of taking the wrong lessons from things like that, the response that the federal government had to the Waco standoff in the early 90s was very much informed by the way people thought about Jonestown, which is that, we let this go on too long. The problem wasn't that, that maybe we had this paranoid group of radicals out here that, maybe we shouldn't have done so much to feed into that paranoia. We needed to ease these people out of it and try to de-escalate. Instead, we said we could have prevented it if only we'd have gone in hard right at the beginning and taken this guy out. And so then you get Waco, And so there are real world consequences to taking the wrong lessons from these things, and really just kind of forgetting that it doesn't. Look, you may have like your Jeffrey Dahmers or something out there that are an exception to this rule, but they are the exception that proves the rule. That it doesn't matter who you're talking about. You could be talking about Uday Hussein, Saddam's son, just an sadistic monster of a human being. But, that kid was a 3-year-old at one point, or that guy was a 3-year-old kid at one point who did not, it's not like he was waiting in line in the spirit world before he was born, and they're like, who wants to be Saddam Hussein's son? And he's like, I do. That's the world he was thrust into, and you see a guy like that, and then you're horrified by the things that he does, but then you say, look, man, if the stories are true, at least, like Saddam Hussein used to take him and his brother when he was 6 years old to go watch torture sessions and executions because he needed to harden them for, ruling the country one day. And it's like, I don't want to pretend like I have the remotest idea of, how a kid is supposed to respond to watching torture sessions when he's 6 years old and coming up in that world. Like, what do I know about that? You know what I mean? And so I try to stay humble as I'm reading about these people, not assume that I'm better than them or different than them, and really just try to understand them on human terms, And again, it doesn't. When I did that in the Tucker interview with regard to the Germans in the Second World War and the series that I'm working on right now, which is the Second World War from the perspective of the Germans, it's people who. It's not just people who are purposely misinterpreting things or anything. A lot of people who are in good faith, they see something like that and they think you're trying to justify or rationalize what happened.